Not do what I wanted to do. Okay. Do you see my screen? Are you on presenter mode, Dobbin?
I
Yes.
see, I see your screen.
Okay. Aaron, can I have you be co-host to let in people so I continue to talk?
Sure. Do you have that power?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Tis yours now.
I'm on the
Welcome to it.
woo. It's done.
Yeah. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world joining us today. I am very honored that Heidi was like, yeah, you can totally do an opener if you want it. So on behalf of the organizing committee, welcome to this year's Big Team Science Conference. Do what I want. I made this really sick logo here because I wanted us to be reminded that, like, it's remarkable that as we meet for this event, we're connecting across several time zones from different labs, from offices. We have people that are like streaming their good like classroom. They just have a live feed going, and I think that that's just really cool that we are connected across the globe. I think it also speaks to the fact that we have this new partnership between several organizations that continue to bring Big Team Science Conference together, which is called the Connect Partnership. And so just felt really on brand. Um, and so, yeah, welcome. And thank you for connecting at Big Team Science Conference this year. First, I want to start with like a moment of gratitude here, because this conference doesn't just happen. It's powered by a really cool team of people. Some may say that that team is a big team of people, big team science, going for it hardcore, even meta style. But our organizers are from, different organizations and different locations. We are very excited that Abrier decided to join Many Babies in the Psychological Science Accelerator this year to bring this conference. And so I want to say a big thank you to Aaron, Sergio, Heidi, Brendan, Nadia, and Alma for showing up to meetings and continuing to like do the things that need to be done to make this conference happen. But that's not the only people that helped. As three different organizations, we also made a bunch of people from our organizations read over abstracts and help us to have speakers and speakers that were going to be good and suitable for this conference. And so I want to give a good shout out to them. We also continue to use Liz Hare for our accessibility consult. She's been amazing in allowing us to make sure that this conference is as accessible as we can be. Ooh, nope, back. That being said, this conference doesn't happen without you. So we have to have participants. So I want to say a good thank you to you. You have shown up this morning, afternoon, probably even late for some of you. And so thank you, because this conference doesn't happen and you're continuing to show up for the vision of science, inclusion, and a collective work towards transparency and generalizability. So, but I thought it'd be cool to have a little, who are we this year? So I made these little good old pie charts of our people that have registered for this year's conference. And you can see that a lot of the people that are registering for Big Team Science are early career. So look at us go. Having all of these things that early career researchers have to do, and you decided to show up to a conference to, yeah, continue to work with others. And I think that that just speaks to, who are the people that are often running big team science organizations and projects. So, but the other cool really thing is that the United States is still very running in the lead there, but we have a lot of people from a bunch of different areas, and so it was really cool to see the amount of different colors that were brought into this pie chart to to recognize that we are not solely in one location, and that we are in fact connected across the globe. So why are we here? When we talk about big team science, we're not just talking about big numbers or projects, we're talking about what happens when curiosity, coordination, and community come together. So, when we stop trying to reinvent the wheel and we start actually building something that everybody can get into. And so big team science, it grew out of this momentum of when psychology and science more broadly was having a hard time, and we were having to look at a lot of our research. And so Reproducibility Challenge made us ask, how can we make research more credible? How can we ensure that findings actually generalize beyond our local samples, our single institutes, and also across cultural context? Big team science was just one of those answers, and it was a model that allowed us to say that the problems we face as scientists are too complex, they're too global, and they're too interconnected for one lab or single person to solve. Ooh, what in the heck is happening? Okay, and so one of the things I just wanted to highlight is that, as we as big team science continue to work, we're seeing that a lot of our organizations are actually diversifying across region and discipline. And while our current leaderships of these organizations are still often clustered in our weird countries, it's still incredible that big team science is continuing to make progress against widening participation and widening the power to do science. And that's what this conference is about. So we're not just trying to scale our teams, but we're trying to structure the value that is big team science. So this year, we have some really cool things in store. And so over the next 3 days, you'll see that this vision of trying to not just scale up our numbers, but to create something that is of value is what we're going to be doing. And so we will hear from Angela Duckworth, who will introduce a concept on mega studies, and how we can test ideas simultaneously to accelerate learning. We also have a really cool talk from Christopher Stubb, who will speak on what it means to go big, the challenges and responsibilities that come with scaling collaborations. Well, we have a lot of cool sessions, and so so our other cool featured sessions for this year are our register reports from Sean Reif, who is that's just a really freaking cool project. And then we have some panels happening, and so we have big team science projects in the majority world, and so this is just a really cool collective of projects that are happening in this field that we do here. But we also see that when we say big team science, we are talking about more than just these big scaled projects. We are talking about people. And so one of the things we really wanted to do this year was to highlight the work in which people are doing. And so we have a really cool panel, which is not only going to allow people to talk about their own projects, but we also are going to talk about what it's like to be in the majority world leadership of big team science and the barriers and opportunities that come from those. But we just have a lot of cool things going on. And so, yeah, we have projects that are across disciplines. So we have the Heat and Cognition Project, mini dogs, mini tones, mini fishes. Beyond just like coming to talks and our feature talks, you're going to be having conversations. We're going to be doing some unconferences, hackathons. And so you'll see that when we say big, we don't mean it's going to all be one thing. And so the hope is that these meetings will be times that we can come together and inspire each another to do a project or just like think about cool science. But we can also figure out ways in which we can game plan for future endeavors together as a collective. So beyond the talks, you're going to join these unconferences. And the nice thing about these things is that they are, on our unconferences are developing metrics for collaborations. We're talking about our partnership. We're coming up with ways in which we can discuss inclusion and authorship and infrastructure. And so these are just things to be on the lookout for. We recognize that, with every person that is here today, it's part of a culture. And so whether you're leading a mini X project, you're starting your first collaboration, or you're just curious about, how does this big team science thing work, your voice matters. And so the future of big team science really doesn't just depend on, showing up and making a project. It depends on the commitment of two things. So we need to have scientific rigor, and we also need to have that human connection. And without one, the other one doesn't work. A big team science without trust collapses under its own weight. And without structure, it risks being, idealism without impact. And so our challenge as big team science is to actually balance the both. But we recognize that, we're still doing things. And so over the conference, I want people to be thinking and considering these questions. What barriers are still existing? How can we continue to make participation equitable? And what counts as success in big team science, and what can we learn from each another, no matter what the topic content is? Because there are some topic contents that you're not going to be familiar with, but there is still something to learn from those. Looking ahead, so as we continue to, go about the next 3 days, I hope that you will find the next 3 days not only as like a learning opportunity, but to reflect. And so, reflect on like what does collaboration mean to you? And what can we do beyond the between just showing up for these projects and actually having people feel seen, valued, and empowered in the process of science? Because we are more than just names on a paper. Sometimes we are too many names on a paper. And so it's more about how we can make those people feel seen, valued, and empowered. And with that, I hope that you go across the next 3 days. We can, post session updates, continue to tell your colleagues what you are digging deeper in, what you're learning. And if you want, share these live feeds in a shared space. We're here for inspiration and not really for, the barrier of registration or the fees. And so feel free to share things. If possible. It is always going to be better to register, so we have our metrics. We can't create those pie charts without people registering. And so, yeah, I hope that we go across these 3 days and figure out some really cool things, that these 3 days lead to projects, to new networking opportunities. Yeah. So thank you and welcome to this year's Big Teen Science Conference. Mostly just wanted to keep this short and sweet so that if people had questions, concerns, they could talk. You can get a shirt. Yes, you can get a shirt. They're pretty damn cool too. I say that because I designed them. Yeah. So, great question, Sarah. A unconference, well, I'll start with a hackathon. A hackathon is often like we have an idea and we're gonna get in and like work session this. And a conference is often more like discussion based. And so it's more of like we have a question, we have some ideas, but we're not really sure how to go about that. And so often what happens in those is that, yeah, we just brainstorm together. Whereas a hackathon is like, let's start doing something. So I hope that that helps decrease that barrier of like, what am I actually getting into if I join this session? But also know that like we make these sessions accessible to all people, and so you don't have to really come in with like any specific knowledge. Again, every voice matters, whether or not you are completely if the layperson or you are very knowledgeable on the topic. So don't be afraid to jump in on those. Absolutely, yeah. Excellent. I will write that down in our notes so that we don't forget it for next year. And honestly, I probably will just make a little definition thing now, so. All right, I'm gonna hop off and I hope to see you in the next session. Thank you all.